the auspices of a visionary institution founded by a man of immense passion for Nigeria and Africa, my brother, my mentor, my colleague, Chief Dele Momodu. This center, through forums like this, has steadily established a cherished tradition of bringing together the brightest minds to dissect and offer solutions to the most pressing issues facing our nation. It is a testament to Chief Dele Momodu's commitment to nation building and his belief in the power of robust intellectual engagement. Today, we continue with that tradition. The topic before us is both timely and critical. How to resolve the America-Nigeria face-off. The relationship between Nigeria and the United States. Now, this has become one of the most consequential issues on the African continent at the moment. It is a relationship forged by history, shared democratic aspirations, and significant diaspora ties. There is also one that in recent times has been marked by friction and strategic dissonance. To discuss this complex subject, we have assembled a panel of esteemed experts with deep knowledge and experience in diplomacy, academia, and civil society. They will help us untangle the knots of this face-off and chart a path forward. But before I go further to talk about the historical context of the relationship between Nigeria and the United States, I'd like to invite our convener, the visionary behind the Dele Momodu Leadership Center in Ibadan, to first welcome all of us. Over to you, Chief Dele Momodu.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ruben Abati. Congratulations once again on your 60th birthday. You are truly a pride of Africa.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening to all our distinguished speakers. I warmly welcome you via Zoom. I'm reaching you live from the beautiful city of Ibadan. The Dele Momodu Leadership Center was opened in May this year to celebrate my 65th birthday. It is a product of the Dele Momodu Foundation, and I am very pleased to disclose that the man who inspired it is online with us from the University of Pennsylvania right now, Professor Wale Adebanwi, who I like to call my boss when he invited me to the University of Oxford for a stint as a visiting scholar. Good afternoon from Nigeria, Prof, and thank you so much for inspiring this Leadership Center in Ibadan. I have also live, I don't know where I'm reaching Ambassador from, but he's a man I respect so much. And that is Ambassador Joe Keshi, who was once in charge of our consulate in Atlanta, Georgia, in the United States of America. Good afternoon, sir. If you can hear me, and I'm sure you are hearing me. Then we have comrade, my distinguished brother, and our comrade, Comrade Shehu Sani, also live with us. Thank you for accepting to speak. We are all patriotic Nigerians. We decided that we shouldn't leave this thing to government alone. We should always support our nation. In the days of tribulations, we should run to the experts. There is nothing new, as they say, under the sun. So that is why we've decided to gather here today to be able to present a solution to the federal government of Nigeria. So this is non-partisan. This is not a political gathering. It's a gathering of eggheads, of some of the brilliant minds. We're expecting Professor Bolaji Akinyemi to join us. I spoke to him extensively yesterday, and he's a foremost expert when it comes to foreign relations. And so I'm hoping he will join us very soon. We had expected that Baba, the former Secretary General of the Commonwealth, Chief Emeka Anyaoku, will be able to join us, but Baba is just recovering in England. I spoke to him yesterday, but he's here with us in spirit, and he was very excited to know that we were going to take this to the world today. Also, I spoke to the former Chief of Staff to President Buhari, Professor Ibrahim Gambari. We spoke also yesterday, and he's also with us in prayers. So we have some resident scholars. This place is patterned after Bellagio in Lake Como, Italy, and I discovered the place while Professor Wale Adebanwi was resident at that facility. And that was when I decided that, okay, if we don't have the resources of the Rockefeller Foundation, we can start something small in Ibadan. So in this building where you are watching us from, we have some resident young scholars who have come in for inspiration and for research purposes. So later, after the meeting, those who have time will be able to go around the facility with us. So thank you so much so that we don't take too much of your time. Dr. Ruben Abati, the session can begin, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, Chief Dele Momodu. I think all of us should congratulate Chief Dele Momodu on this achievement, the leadership that he continues to provide, and then using this leadership center to address key issues. I will skip some of the notes that I have there about US-Nigeria relations. We all know that Nigeria and US, we have a very long time, but there are tension points in the relationship between Nigeria and the United States. And we just need to move beyond the headlines to look at a deeper understanding of the root causes and where are the opportunities for de-escalation. And most importantly, what concrete steps can both nations take to rebuild a relationship that is too important to fail? The allegation by President Trump is that there is genocide, religious genocide in Nigeria, the persecution of Christians in particular. And there have been many perspectives in this regard. Of course, the Genocide Convention of 1949 frowns upon the targeting of any group of persons within society, whether on the basis of religion or ethnic extraction or race or religious belief. And the Nigerian defense has been that, look, in Nigeria, even our laws are against religious persecution. Section 10 of the 1999 Constitution is very clear that there shall be no state religion. Section 39 allows freedom of expression. Section 38 of the 1999 Constitution allows freedom of religious thought. Section 42 is a section of the Constitution that talks about freedom from discrimination. But these are the principles as outlined before now by the Minister of Foreign Affairs, and as he has done most recently in his conversation with Piers Morgan, the British journalist. But there are people in Nigeria who argue that there is a difference between the principles, constitutional principles and provisions, and the reality in Nigeria. But we have the experts. I don't want to bore you with my own views. We're expecting Professor Bolaji Akinyemi as Chief Dele Momodu has told us, and we all know him as a renowned scholar of international relations, former minister of foreign affairs, a very authoritative commentator on international affairs, who knows, the issues. And then we have Ambassador Joe Keshi, who is also a seasoned career diplomat with extensive experience. He offers practical, on-the-ground insights into the mechanics of diplomacy, the channels of communication, and what it takes to manage complex bilateral negotiations from inside the system. I mean, he's been there. As Chief Dele Momodu said, he was Consul General in Atlanta. And then, of course, we have Professor Wale Adebanwi, who is a very distinguished with expertise in politics, ethnicity, society issues, who can provide a socio-political lens into all of those issues and can also analyze, being somebody who is very familiar with both countries, an insight into how domestic politics in both nations can influence foreign policy and public perception. And then, of course, we have a comrade, Senator Shehu Sani, a very prominent civil rights activist, who will offer the people's perspective, what the legislative oversight should be, and who can also speak to the role of the National Assembly, human rights concerns, and how such tensions can impact civil society and the average Nigerian. So with that brief introduction, I would like to open up the conversation. And I would like to start with Ambassador Joe Keshi. Ambassador Keshi, if you can hear me. Hello, Ambassador Keshi.
I would like to speak. I have a flight.
Hello.
Yes.
Oh, you have a flight to catch. Okay. It even looks like Ambassador Keshi's mic is muted.
I'm here, but I'm ready to. I don't know who has a flight, so I can yield the floor to the gentleman who has a flight.
Okay, it's Comrade Senator Shehu Sani. Well, Comrade, yes. I would like to ask you, from your vantage point as a civil society activist, as a political leader, now, what do you think could be the tangible effect of this diplomatic friction between Nigeria and the US on everyday Nigerians in terms of security cooperation, in terms of economic opportunities, in terms of what could happen?
Thank you very much for having me. Well, it's very important that, first of all, we try to separate the US administration from the people of the United States, because you can have one administration that has this policy and you can have another administration with a different policy. So that should be noted. Secondly, what we are specifically talking about here is the allegation of genocide against Christians by Muslims in Nigeria. Please, let's put all these things on the table. Genocide happens by principle, the majority against the minority. Now, out of 10 Christians you will ask in Nigeria, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm with you.
Majority turns against the minority. So, out of 10 Christians you can have in Nigeria, 8 will never agree that Christians are the minority in Nigeria. 8 out of 10 Christians in Nigeria will never agree that Christianity and Christians are the minority in Nigeria. So if you will not agree that Christianity or Christians are the minority, so why specifically on the issue of genocide should you accept that Muslims are the majority in the country? That is one. Secondly, Nigeria has 36 states with Abuja as the FCT. Where is the genocide taking place? You can remove the whole of southern Nigeria. There is no Muslim persecution against Christians. I believe that. Because there is no state in the southern part that has a Muslim majority dominating a Christian minority. So now you only talk of the northern state. And now in the northern states, the specific states where the allegations of genocide happens or is happening is in two states, which is Benue and Plateau. Now, who are the dominant religious group in Benue and Plateau? The governor, the deputy governor, the speaker's assembly, the political establishment are all 80%, 80 to 95% Christians. So now, if in Benue and Plateau, 95% of those in the position of authority are Christians, how does a Muslim persecute or commit genocide against a Christian in such state? Now, that aspect of it. Secondly, I've seen that there is a tilt in many people supporting Trump. Well, I can categorize people into three. There are those that support Trump on the basis that they have been suffering from terrorist attacks, and by that, his intervention will put an end to terrorism and restore peace and order in the other parts of the country that has been suffering under these terror attacks. Well, whatever you do, if you ignore history and ignore the experiences of other countries, you'll just be roving within your own island. There is no country in the world that has come to another country and addressed its own local challenges, especially when it has to do with terrorism. France has been in Burkina Faso, has been in Niger, has been in Chad, has been in Senegal, has been in all these francophone for more than 3 decades in the name of helping them to fight terrorism. What becomes of it? Nothing. Russia replaced France in Niger, in Burkina Faso, in Mali, with those, their defense contractors and also the Russian army. Have they been able to end terrorism and banditry in those countries? They were not able to. Now, take America. America does not go into a country that and sacrifice its soldiers and resources when it does not have an interest there. Now, America is in Libya and terrorism is still going on. America is in Syria, terrorism is still going on. America is in Iraq and terrorism is still going on. So if with all their intervention and military might and technology, they were not able to address the problems where they are now stationed for over 2 decades, how will they be able to do that here? Another point I'm going to make is that even if you secure the whole of Nigeria and Cameroon, Chad, Niger, Burkina Faso, and Mali is not secured, Nigeria is not secured. So not only you come in to secure the Christians, but even if you say we only want to secure Nigeria, and these Islamist jihadists are in Chad, they are in Niger, they are in Burkina Faso, they are in Mali, still we are still threatened. And the issue that has been made is that the killings are Muslims killing Christians. If I knew that because my name is Shehu, I should be able to have moved freely into Zamfara, to Katsina State, that the bandits and terrorists will do nothing to me because my name is Shehu. That is not true. Terrorists and bandits in northern Nigeria specifically do not discriminate who they are going to kill They kill anybody they want. They kidnap anybody they want. And they burn down churches, mosques, and kill pastors and imams. If somebody like me could have reached out to an Obasanjo in 2011 and moved him to Borno State to facilitate a dialogue with the Boko Haram, if someone like me could have done that, then you will see that there are people internally that have the interests of the country at hand. But we cannot also shy away from the fact that our governments have failed. This is a country that restored peace and order in Sierra Leone, in Liberia, in Gambia, in Darfur, in Somalia, in Sudan, in Congo for 65 years of its independence and cannot protect itself. When you have billions and trillions of naira budgeted for defense and security, and bandits on motorcycles, fragile motorcycles, with AK-47 are becoming invisible to an army that is well funded and equipped. It is an irony of a nation. Recently, just within this year, they burned down mosque in Katsina, burned down mosques in Zamfara. We live in an internet age. Whatever any person says, you only need to Google and see the truth. It's not 1992 or 1993. So my own take on this is that let us solve this security problem as a national problem. And that nobody should think that America will come here, sacrifice its resources and the life of people to protect any faith. They don't do that. They have never succeeded anywhere. That is my own point.
Yeah, comrade, I get you. Because you say you have a flight to catch. There are one or two things you said that needs to be interrogated. Now, you were saying in Benue and Plateau that the population is predominantly Christian, 80% Christian. Are you by any stretch of the imagination trying to suggest that in Benue and Plateau is Christians who are killing Christians? Because former Governor Samuel Otom of Benue State is on record as having said that there is the persecution of Christians in Benue State. The current governor of Plateau, Caleb Muftuan, has more or less also said the same thing, that the main problem in that axis, you may add the Southern Kaduna to it, is that, jihadists, there are jihadists in the north who are trying to Islamize the north, or by extension, drop the Quran in the Atlantic Ocean. We've seen effect also in the Northwest. That's one argument. The second argument, you talked about France, its influence in Francophone countries. Now, the Nigerian government, in response to President Trump, has said, the Nigerian government welcomes international cooperation, terrorism, insurgency, banditry being international issues of criminality and all of that. And you say, well, America does not go anywhere except it's looking for something. What can America probably be looking for in Nigeria at this time? I know that there are people who have argued about geopolitics, our closeness to China, our refusal to support Israel, and our insistence on the two-state solution. Well, one point you made that may not be controversial is that terrorists do not discriminate. So we're dealing with crime, simplicity. Christians and Muslims are part of this, which was the point that Yusuf Tuga, the minister, was making in his outreach in the international scene. But the two major problematic things, that this is about jihadism, and that and your claim that America is not looking, it must be looking for something. What can they possibly be looking for? Hello, comrade. Can you hear me?
Okay. First of all, President Trump asked for $500 billion to protect Ukraine. President Trump demands for resources from Democratic Republic of Congo to be able to protect DRC and restore peace and order in the country. President Trump is asking the Arab countries to pay for their protection for the American troops that are there. That is not going to be a free service for anybody. Now, when I talk about Benue and Plateau, What I'm saying is that the bandits and the terrorists that are killing Christians in Benue and Plateau, they are the same people killing Muslims in Zamfara, in Katsina, and in Sokoto. And I am a Muslim, and I can tell you that I prefer to go and live in Benue and Plateau than to go and live in Zamfara State. So this is what I'm telling you. Secondly, when you say persecution, so it is, the way it is portrayed is that it's as if the terrorists and bandits have the consent of Muslims to kill Christians. They don't have my consent. When I was in the Senate, each time I stood up to speak about the killings of my people, it's the northern senators that come out, a lot of them to attack me, that I'm trying to defame and spoil the image of President Buhari. But it's a fact that Nigerian governments and security agencies and defense forces have failed to protect Muslims in Zamfara and Christians in Benue and Plateau State. That's the fact of it. If you change the wordings and the phrases, it can change a whole meaning. There is a fundamental difference between saying terrorists operating in Benue and Plateau are the same terrorists operating in Katsina and Zamfara State. If you talk of persecution of Christians in northern Nigeria, it's as if the Shekau, the Turjis, the Manjagara, the Kachallas, all these bandits and terrorists, as if they are acting on behalf of millions of Muslims whom they are also killing. It's not the case. In as much as, and secondly, I'm saying it, anybody who thinks America is a savior that can come and solve our Nigerian problem, he's just wasting his time. He's wasting his time. And if you live by the tweet and the truth social media posting of Trump, you are likely going to be disappointed all your life. He said he's going to invade Greenland. He has not done it. He said he's going to invade Mexico for drugs. He has not done it. He said he's going to invade Colombia. He has not done it. He said he's going to invade Venezuela. He has not done it. Now, he said he accused South Africa of genocide of white, black people against black, which is just a false narrative. Now, Nigeria is in the queue of these things, which he said. So, for us to know, and the other time he said he's going to take over Gaza, about something $1 trillion. He later changed his thought and he's no more going to do it. So please, I want us to know as a country that the solution to our problems is within ourselves as a nation. If there is anybody we are going to hold accountable for what should be done, is our own government. And when our government fails, we change them with a new government, with somebody who can solve our problem. America has never solved any problem by invasion. Nigeria is not going to be.
Okay.
You can ignore like somebody now will sit down and tell you.
Hello.
Nigeria is a colonial contraption, it's a British, but are you going to accept it? So that is my own view on that.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, let me go very quickly now. I hope you still stay with us for some more time, because we're just beginning to warm up. I'll go back to Ambassador Joe Keshi. Ambassador Keshi, there's an interesting article in the Financial Times where the author, I think is Max Siulun, was saying that Nigeria's inept diplomacy is to blame for Trump's military threats. Inept diplomacy. Now, based on your experience, what would be the first and most critical step both governments need to take to de-escalate What confidence building measures should Nigeria adopt? And do you agree that our diplomacy at this moment is inept?
Well, thank you very much, Ruben. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So I'm trying to put off. I have two lessons. Yeah. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, sir.
First, let me offer an apology on behalf of my system, because I did not hear the senator fully well to understand the point he was trying to make. But somewhere along the line, I think towards the end, I kind of agreed with him about the fact that we should hold our governments, successive governments, responsible for where we are today. And I think this, when you remove all the conspiracy theories, which I've heard and which I think he repeated some, I also want to say, I've always said this even when I was in service, for many reasons, to remind Nigerians that obviously we are not, the Nigerian diplomatic service for years like to use this word that we are strategic partners to the United States. And I've always contested that. Because when you look at the strategic partners to the United States, you compare what the United States does or gives to those strategic partners, we don't even get a quarter, not to talk of half of how the United States treat those quote-unquote strategic partners. But you see, Ruben, one thing we need to understand, but what he said in closing about how government has treated this issue, I think goes to the heart of the article you are referring to. Look, this issue has been on the table, as far as I can remember, since 2021. As permanent secretary in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, I think I can boast single-handedly, and the records are there, that I single-handedly dealt with the issue without it appearing in any newspaper or, creating the kind of problems we have today. And I would also say that there was a difference between 2009, when I dealt with the issue, and what has happened this time around. But the point that needs to be made is that the issue has been on the table, and we took our eyes off the table even when this was happening. When the pastors from the Middle Belt were going to the Senate, I'm not sure that the Nigerian diplomatic structure, was available to respond, to counter, or to provide an alternative information to those who took the decision. The second thing that happened, between 2009 and now, when I dealt with the issue, I dealt with the something religious commission. They have the responsibility of recommending to the Secretary of State to declare Nigeria a country of concern, and then that goes to the president for his final approval. And we're at that stage when the information got to us at headquarters, and I went to Washington, and I met the group. For you to understand, as I've always said, for you to understand the importance attached to this issue, one of the members of that group, I think, lives somewhere in California. You know the distance between California and Washington, but he flew into Washington just to listen to what I had to say. And at the end of the day, it boils down that, yes, the same thing, Christians were being killed, government was not doing anything. And then they came to Nigeria to verify, to find out the truth from government officials. All the government officials that they had appointment to meet, Ruben, you will not believe it, they did not meet them. They went, I think, to defense, and they told them, the villa has just called the Minister of Defense or the Chief of Defense staff. He's not available today. They went to the IG again, that had an appointment to see them, was not prepared to see them. They went to the religious group chaired by the Sultan of Sokoto. Look, they just made a mess of these people who came to verify whether the information they got from the Christian group was true or not. And so it was out of that anger they recommended for this issue to be treated, for Nigeria, to be declared a country of concern. And at the end of the day, I tried to rationalize this, by presenting whatever case I could make. But I now made a plea with them that, listen, if I can get all of you an appointment to meet these people again, would you come back to Nigeria? And they had a consultation and agreed that they would come back to Nigeria. I came back to Nigeria. I made sure they saw everybody they wanted to see. They came back to my office expressing happiness. At least they now have a very clear understanding of the issues involved in the Nigerian, security situation. And they went back to Washington and withdrew the recommendation that they were set to make to the Secretary of State for onward transmission to the President. Now, contrast that to what has happened this time around. The group that has been driving this narrative and, contacting people in the US, this time around took a different route. And which is the most effective route when you understand how the United States works, is to go through a powerful senator. And my suspicion is that powerful suspicion also has a very strong Nigerian or maybe people from, when you look at how Nigerians are scattered in the Texas area, if you go to Houston, for example, there's a huge Nigerian population. I can't remember Shirley Brown or Shirley something, she won the election consistently with the support of the suspicion that I do not see how Cruz will just wake up one night and decide to push this issue on behalf of the Christian community. So we must not forget, we must remember that. And with that, they probably got other Christian lobbying groups in the United States and they took up this issue to the Senate, which eventually came back to, to Donald Trump. In the whole process, apparently, there was no response. When the Christian groups were going to the House, they were going to the Senate to make their presentation. Not once, not twice. There was no There was no effective response, from the Nigerian government side. And probably this is why the article you referred to was describing our diplomacy. Because look, the truth we must tell ourselves sometimes is that in the last probably 10 years, quite frankly, I will tell you because I'm involved and I still reach out to the ministry, things have gone very bad with the Nigerian diplomatic service, not to talk of Nigerian diplomacy itself. Completely, but even the ministers today do complain. The capacity is all there. Nobody wants to do any serious work. All they want to do is they come back, they want to go to posting again immediately. In fact, was it the PAMSEC I was talking to in the villa? And they are just there roaming about doing nothing. So the competence have declined more than anybody can believe. And this is not the fault of the officers when you come to think of it. It's the fact that the politicians themselves today cannot be exonerated from what they've been doing in the last more than 15 years in this country. They go to with a list and insist whether you are qualified or you are not qualified, and insist that these are the people they want you to employ into the civil service. And by the way, the lack of capacity or the decline in capacity is not only in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, it's in the whole federal institution. Because over the last couple of years, members of the National Assembly in particular have been forcing people on the public service into the custom, into immigration, into virtually every institution. I tell you this, I was in South Africa the other day and visited our mission, and I was being told that somebody who has spent 80 years in immigration cannot write or speak English, but is serving a mission abroad. So you can begin to understand the kind of situation, But the other side of the story is that This problem has been going on for more than 15 years. It is difficult for me to understand how the Nigerian security apparatus of forces could not. And that also goes to the way we do things or think about things in this country. Remember when the Boko Haram started in this country many years ago, the first complaint of the Nigerian military was that, look, they are not fighting conventional warfare. They are fighting some ragtag guerrillas and things like that. And my question to the military when I went to only program in defense, who, for goodness sake, did you fight in Liberia? What experience did you gain about fighting these same people? And every officer that fought in Liberia and Sierra Leone ended up becoming a general in the Nigerian army. So you ask yourself this question, why has the Nigerian military not been able to address these security issues? Why has the government taken its eyes off the ball, realizing that the security situation is not only affecting human lives, but it's also affecting our economy, and that something needed to be done to take care of the problem as quickly as possible? For 2 years of the Tinubu administration, we've been shouting, we need ambassadors. They need to be out there representing Nigeria, dealing with some of these issues. Nobody listened. But immediately Trump threat came, we just started hearing. Ruben, I think you were one of those who announced it to us the other day that you got information, breaking news. The government is going to now appoint ambassadors. After 2 years, without ambassadors. So when you look at the way we have handled this thing over the last couple of years, quite frankly, we have ourselves to blame for not doing a good job. Number one, for not ending this crisis the way we ended it years ago, for not, strengthening our diplomatic structure to be able to deal with any fallout externally. And when the crisis hit Nigeria, for not even providing a very good argument to counter what was coming out from Washington.
Okay, Ambassador Keshi, you are subject area professional. I've heard you agree that there's been a show of gross ineptitude, incompetence. The golden years of the Foreign Affairs Ministry are long gone. You don't think that the people are competent. You don't think that the response by the government is good enough. But the other day, I was speaking on TV saying that we need adults in the room. That government needs to consult persons who have been along this lane. Maybe there's wisdom that they can bring. What, in your own thinking, is that community of the village, that wisdom of the community that the Nigerian government can pursue right now, regardless of the fact that Senator Sani was saying that, it's not even certain whether Trump will carry out his threat, but we have a country to protect. What do you suggest?
Look, Ruben,
Hello, sir.
Yes. Look, what you're trying in times of national crisis, I think everybody will help the country to restore confidence. Nigeria does not have friends in Washington.
Hello, Ambassador Keshi. Hello. Hello. Ambassador Keshi, if you can hear me. Okay, we seem to have lost connection with Ambassador Keshi. I'll come back to him. Let me go very quickly to Professor Wale Adebanwi. Prof, how are you?
Very well, thank you. Good to see you.
Hello, Professor Adebanwi.
Very well,
excellent.
good to see you.
Yeah, my brother. Well, Professor Adebanwi, one of the things they teach in foreign policy process is that foreign policy is often an extension of domestic politics. Now, how do you think the internal political calculations in Abuja and Washington have contributed to this tension, bilateral tension? And by that, I go back to the conspiracy theories. There are some people who are saying, well, Trump's objective is really the regime change in Nigeria, and that Trump or America, will seem to have access to some intelligence about how the Nigerian situation is being managed. And that, look, is the opposition. Someone has even expressed the view that it's opposition politicians who are going to, demarket Nigeria internationally for their own personal, selfish purposes. But there's also something about domestic politics. Is it that we have mismanaged this place so badly that we don't even have friends in Washington, to quote Ambassador Keshi? Your take.
Thank you very much, Dr. Abati. So I will come to your specific question, but I think it's important, following up on what Ambassador Keshi said, to provide a larger context for how we got here. The fundamental challenge is the objective reality of our security problem. And this has been going on for long. There have been different kinds of dimensions of this objective crisis that we've had to face in the last almost 2 decades. So that's the first challenge. So there's a problem, as you articulated in different ways when you started out. So this didn't just happen. There was a critical problem that needed to be addressed that was not addressed for a long time. The second issue is the management of the immediate crisis, which is the response that we received from the United States, the president, the senator who first spoke, and then the reaction of the president. And some of the issues that had been raised earlier about the mobilization within the domestic environment in the United States. And of course, this was also in response to some of the challenges in our own domestic environment in Nigeria. Yeah, some of the earlier speaker had mentioned people from some of those communities who have visited the United States and met with senators and other communities within the United States. So we have that challenge, the management of that crisis, apart from the fundamental security challenge. The third is the management of our foreign relations, and Ambassador Keshi spoke directly to this. So we have a challenge there. And of course, in relation to all of these three, would be the domestic politics in the United States in relation to our own domestic politics and the way in which this has led to the stance of President Trump. So the first, to now respond to the question you raised, I remember when Professor Gambari was celebrating his 80th birthday last year, I wrote a piece in celebration of his life and service and suggested to the president, please appoint, Nigeria has incredible human resources. Name Professor Bolaji Akiyemi, Professor Ibrahim Gambari, and Chief Emeka Anyaku as presidential, a council of presidential advisors on foreign affairs, or presidential, advisory council on foreign affairs. These three people have the capacity to help the president resolve most of the crises that we have in terms of our foreign relations. So that was, a suggestion last year, and I've, tried to feed this into the system again when this crisis happened. These three people can, provide the conditions for responding to this and also intervene. As we are speaking, Professor Gambari is in, different corners of the world in the last 2 or 3 weeks. I've been in touch with him. He's been moving around all sorts of places. So these are people who have leverage, who have stature, Professor Akiyemi and Chief Anyaku. Now, so that would be a way to first, respond to this immediate crisis. And then the long-term challenge that we have in terms of the management of foreign affairs. Now, to now focus on the question you asked, and that is related again to the next thing that needs to happen, which Ambassador Keshi raised. We don't have any representation anywhere. no one is speaking for Nigeria anywhere in the world. People have made all sorts of representations, to the president, some of which I'm aware of, to say, please appoint ambassadors, even if only in the first instance, in the G7 countries, to the UN, maybe to AU in Ethiopia, and maybe to South Africa, so that these people can coordinate efforts. I have spoken to people here in the Nigerian diplomatic community in the United States, in the Nigerian community, in the US, diplomatic circles, who have expressed frustration about the fact that whatever they do to even support Nigeria, you need an ambassador to carry this forward, to actually do the critical work that can consolidate whatever, Nigerian friends and different, groups that are quite supportive of Nigeria and Nigeria's interests in the United States. In fact, it was so bad that a former US ambassador was so frustrated that when an opposition figure from Nigeria visited Washington last year, he had to beg this opposition figure, one of the key opposition figures, to say, please, can you tell the president, those of us who are, supporting Nigeria here need an ambassador to help us to consolidate what we are doing to support Nigeria. And it was, some people laughed in that gathering to say, how can you be sending a major opposition figure to deliver a message to the president? But such was the frustration of this former US ambassador to Nigeria, who is still doing a lot in his own capacity to support Nigeria. Now, to respond directly to your question, yes, indeed, there are all sorts of forces. And this, for any elementary student of foreign policy, domestic, conditions are critical in determining foreign policy, and are critical, of course, in terms of the relationship that the country builds with other countries. So there are communities, in Plateau and Benue, Southern Kaduna, and other places in the Middle Belt, some of which you have mentioned in your response to to Senator Shilsani, who are frustrated about their experiences. And you cannot deny them of the right of understanding their own crisis in the context of their own environment, without even thinking about the universe in terms of the general security crisis in Nigeria. So there is that community. And of course, they're able to link up with the Christian right, the Christian right in the United States, who have their own understanding of international, challenges regarding religion, especially when it comes to Christianity. And of course, as Ambassador Keshi mentioned, they're able to then get the support of, Senator, particularly the dynamics that he explained about Texas is very true. There's a huge Nigerian community that has, some leverage, and they're able to articulate some of these views. So what needs to be done? All of these, there are two levels. The first is immediate challenge. You can get, highly placed, highly experienced, well-connected people in Nigeria who have done this before, who can do it again. And Ambassador Keshi gave some fantastic examples of this, to immediately respond to this crisis by engaging with the American government. There have been all sorts of things that we've been hearing in the last few weeks, which actually do not point to any kind of seriousness in terms of addressing these challenges. So you need people who, the president can immediately invite some of these people to advise him on what needs to be done as regards the immediate crisis, and then at the larger level, at the level of the long-term intervention, is to immediately appoint ambassadors, at least to some critical missions abroad, the G7, Washington, and a few other places. But unfortunately, the fact that this has not even happened in the last 2 weeks, I know there have been a few media reports about the likelihood of this announcement, but it's clear that nothing has been done up to this moment. Otherwise, they would have seen, some movement within the National Assembly to confirm some of these candidates. So that there are all these different points that led us to where we are, and there are things that needs to be done first at the level of immediate response, and then, of course, at the level of long-term response through the appointment of ambassadors. And of course, the other thing is the point that Ambassador Keshi raised, which is also a long-term challenge, to improve the quality of our representation, both in terms of foreign ministry itself, and of course our representation abroad.
Okay, Professor Adema, we thank you very much. I get your point. You want highly placed, highly experienced persons to help engage with the American government, and you've given specific examples of persons in terms of the, rich human resource that we have, not just in diplomacy, but in every field. You also say we need representation abroad. It's been about 2 years since the ambassadors were recalled. Now, two issues with this appointment of ambassadors. Now, the government had come up with a list. That list has been on the table since about the first quarter of this year. If we go and check that list, who knows? Maybe some of the people were even approved by the Senate or recommended by the Senate or whoever. Maybe they've died, maybe they've retired. So what kind of persons would you like to see there? Because ambassadorial appointments are often seen by Nigerian administrations as job for the boys. So they've promised that by this week is gone now, maybe by next week they'll come up with a list. What kind of human beings would you like to see on those lists? You mentioned G7. There are also so many other very important postings. The associated point has to do with funding. Many of our embassies, the problem we have with them is that they are not properly funded. They are not properly funded at all. You find the ambassadors who are the usual complaint is that they don't have funding. And now the Nigerian government just got approval from the Senate for a budget deficit of about 1.15 trillion naira, which will be about $1 billion. So there's no guarantee that that resource will go to funding diplomacy when we are not even funding agriculture properly, when we are not funding education properly. So there's also an economic side, not just in literal terms to diplomacy, but in terms of practical details. What do you say to all of this?
Thank you. There is a difference between lack of funding and the embassies not being funded. Nigeria does not lack the capacity to fund the embassies. You know, Dr. Abasi, where you are placed, there is a lot of resources circulating, in Nigeria and beyond. So it's not that we don't have the resources. The challenge is, I think, a matter of political will. And I must confess, I have, in the last 1 year, through some of the networks that, we have, posed this question. And this question has been raised by people who are really well placed in the last 2 weeks. Why have we not appointed ambassadors in the last 2 years? So no one has been able to the best of my knowledge, provided, a reason or some reasons beyond saying, oh, they will do it soon. Now, the quality of the people who will be appointed is another matter entirely. In fact, when someone, hinted about some of the people on the list, even before some list started circulating, I remember one of Nigeria's, very eminent foreign policy expert who has also been head of one of our security services. I remember when I was talking to him and he said, these are the people who are here on the list. Maybe it's actually better for us not to have ambassadors. Such is even the concern, quality of people that may end up on this list. Now, let us admit that there is no way we are going to have a list of ambassadors, especially in critical missions abroad, that will not involve a level of politics. We must admit that. But there are certain missions that you would expect that certain, there will be concern about the quality of people who will be representing us. And if you look at under Buhari administration, as Ambassador Keshi said, we've had this problem for quite a while. So it's not, a new problem. There was a time we had an ambassador, in one of our most critical missions, an old man who hardly had any attention, could pay much attention even to himself, let alone to the mission. But because, the president needed to reward him for one thing or the other, and it was almost a disaster. I mean, people in the mission are always complaining. So it's not just to get ambassadors into, these missions, but to also have the right kind of people, at least in the most critical, missions in DC, in New York, in London, in Paris, in Brussels, in a few critical places that you expect that these are people who command, respect in the countries where they will be representing us, and will have also the leverage to be able to reach the president. There are some ambassadors in critical missions that should have the leverage not just to reach the Minister of Foreign Affairs, but also to reach the villa when there are critical issues to be addressed. So I think we should be concerned about the appointment of ambassadors, but we should also be concerned about the quality of people who will be appointed into these missions, because that will be critical in terms of whether they're able to deliver on the challenges that Nigeria faces now.
Thank you very much indeed.
Hello, Ruben.
Professor Bolaji
Hello,
Akinyemi.
Ruben.
Yes, Ambassador. Yes, sir. Your line went off earlier.
Ruben, if you can hear me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I can hear you. Ambassador Keshi?
Yeah. Sorry, before my former boss comes on, I did take it upon myself to engage a member of government, and I said, look, one of the best ways to deal with this matter is to look at what can we offer the United States. As of today, all the overtures made by the United States, we have virtually rejected. And I said, can we find an overture ourselves and reach out to the United States that would be acceptable? I pointed out that the United States as of today needs help in trying to resolve the Gaza issue. Is there a role for us to play there? And I made a point that, yes, there are so many things we can do to help out, even in the Gaza situation. Can they sit down, think about it, and reach out to the United States? And that when you make such overtures to the United States, you might find out that the pressure on you will be reduced, because the U.S. has also been putting pressure on Nigeria to accept, number one, the Venezuela criminals, number two, professionals from Gaza. I said, you can't be saying no to somebody who needs help. But can you offer something? And there are a number of things you can sit down and begin to think of what you can offer the United States. And I think if we can begin to do this, to strengthen our diplomatic engagement with the United States, we'll probably be making a headway. I just thought I'll conclude with that. And again, to emphasize the fact that no matter what else we want to do, it is time to end the insecurity, particularly in the northern part of the country. That's my last contribution. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Ambassador Keshi. I'm sure you will still stay with us, but this quid pro quo, Nigeria has made it very clear that we can be a dumping ground like South Sudan, like Eswatini, like Ghana, like Venezuela, and other countries who have agreed to third country deportation of unwanted elements, immigration persons from the U.S. On Gaza and Israel, we have said, well, our position is a two-state solution. I said, of course, we're going to have a more comprehensive reform of some of our foreign policy positions. But, well, I introduced him earlier, Professor Bolaji Akinyemi. He has now joined us. Professor Bolaji Akinyemi runs a foreign policy platform called Through My Eyes. So, and now that he's with us, I would like Professor Akinyemi to help us through his eyes identify one or two core issues that are, at the heart of this current face-off. Because we've heard of conspiracy theories, we have heard of all kinds of theories. What exactly does America want? And Ambassador Keshi now says, why can't we offer them something? Do we have anything that we can offer the U.S. without the U.S. taking a pound of flesh like the merchant of Venice? Hello, sir. Hello, sir. The line is not so clear from your end, sir. Hello?
Yes.
Oh, yes, I can hear you now, sir. Yes,
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
You know, I also must thank you, because I think while you were away on your 60th anniversary, I was also on Arise. And I am not buying into these conspiracy theories, which we like to do when we are avoiding the core issues that we should be facing. Our problem with the United States now, we should face squarely. I agree with Jokeshi that in diplomacy, you make offers to get confrontation off the table. I find nothing wrong in the United States needs an international peacekeeping force in Gaza. We are not looking for a clean slate anywhere in the world, definitely not in Gaza. But if the United States needs an international peacekeeping force, and we can offer them a battalion, I find nothing wrong with offering the United States that. Because in a way, what Trump needs also is some form of positive acknowledgement of his own contribution in the world. Number two, we cannot deny that the fact that the Christians, Nigerian Christians, have access to American Pentecostal Christians. And while we were sleeping diplomatically, they've managed to get through to those people and present their case to them about what's happening.
Hello, sir. Prof? Hello, Prof?
Their own mandate or their own core mandate is with the Christians in Nigeria and what's happening to them. And I don't know how many times
Hello, sir. Hello, Prof?
time that.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Yeah, your line keeps failing, sir. Maybe some people are calling you.
Oh dear. I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. You were talking about constituency in the United States, the Pentecostal community, and the interface with the Nigerian Christian community.
Exactly. But the Nigerian government was asleep. I have listened to what we say with Wale about the lack of our own presence in different parts of the world. But let me just concentrate on the United States. If you don't have an ambassador there, who is going to argue your case for you? Who is going to present your own version of what's happening in your country? Don't let us get into, because I'm joining you late. So I don't know whether there are people who've raised issues about sovereignty. When you are dealing with a Trump in the world that everybody is trying to appease, and everybody is trying to make sure they get out of his way, you don't start talking about your sovereignty unless you have a military establishment that can face down the American military establishment. And you and I know that we don't. So really, it's a question of finding a way to tackle Trump. And you remember on your program, Arise, I said this when Trump was re-elected, because you asked me, what advice should I give Tinubu? I didn't know that this was coming on at that time. I said, whatever it is President Tinubu does, he should not confront Trump. And now this has come up. So really, what I will say is, number one, to agree with Joe Keshi, make offers that Trump will appreciate. Number two, we ourselves internally should admit we have problems, especially within our own security establishment. There are people who have said that they alerted our military establishment days before an attack on their community. And that there was a military, an army establishment that was just down the road, and that they never reacted until their community had been dealt with. It was only then that the military turned up. What does that indicate to you? So to me, President Tinubu should tackle our own security establishment, clean out the people who continue to undermine the ability of our security force to deal with the issue at hand. I have had it said, and I will just end up here. I have had it said that, oh, come on, the Nigerian army that was able to take on Ekomog and was successful there, why would we be needing help from abroad? But the fact was...
Hello, sir. Hello, sir.
Now says, I want to help you clean out the terrorist establishment that started from Boko Haram in the northeast, and then became bandits in the northwest, and then whatever name you want to give them in the middle belt, and they are now in Kwara. And you are telling me that, you are tackling the situation. Is it when they get to Lagos, by which time I will run away to my village, but Dr. Abati...
The people of Lagos will be very happy. After all, they say there are too many non-Lagosians in Lagos.
Well, when I got to Igbobi College in 1955, I've been in Lagos since then. So in a way, I've drunk a lot of Lagos water. But you are in Abeokuta. They are going to pass through you to get to Lagos. Is that at that time that we will then accept that we have a problem? Please don't let us talk about they are looking for. Well, I'm not saying that they may not be looking for, our gold, our diamond, our lithium, and this and that. That's really what the Americans are aiming for. But the question is, do we have a problem that we are faced with, and that the most powerful and unpredictable man in the world has now decided that he's going to face? The answer is yes. And what we should be trying to do is to find a way in which we can reassure him that, yes, we agree we need help. Give him, as Joe said, a quid pro quo. We know you also need recognition about having peacekeeping troops in Gaza. We will give a battalion of Nigerian troops, and they will be the best troops performing there. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Well, I hope Comrade Senator Sani is still with us. Comrade, if you can hear me. Hello, Comrade Sani. Hello. Is Comrade Shehu Sani still with us? Okay. Okay. He may have left. He was saying earlier on that he needed to catch a flight. But there is another issue that I wanted to throw up. Maybe Professor Adebanwi will help us revisit that, which is we're talking about cooperation. We're saying we need help. Prof just reiterated that now, that we shouldn't be ashamed to get help, even if it means some trade-offs. Ato Emokun talked about trade-offs in some of these situations. Now, Prof, Chad was the first West African country to close his borders against us, out of fear that if there is any crisis in Nigeria, the bandits will cross the border and come to Chad. How friendly is Chad? And then, of course, we have the African Union Commission supporting us. If Chad quickly closes borders against us, what is all this, where does that leave us with regard to regional cooperation? After all, we have a commission on small and light arms proliferation. We are part of security agreements and bodies with our immediate neighbors. But our neighbors are quiet. Even Chad has shut his borders against us. How do we deal with that dilemma? Because it's part of the problem.
Thank you. I think it's just another indication of what has happened to Nigeria in the last decade and a half. We've really lost our stature within the region and within the continent and globally. I mean, it's almost unthinkable that, Chad, these are countries that Nigeria regularly supports, that we've provided a lot of support for them over the years. So the fact that Chad is shutting, doors against us is actually it should be an embarrassment for Nigeria. So I think it goes back to some of the issues that have been raised by Professor Akiyemi and Ambassador Akeshi about what we need to do to restore our stature. Under our leadership, we see what has happened to ECOWAS. I can imagine that some of these countries that have broken off ECOWAS must be having a laugh now that Nigeria itself is facing this kind of crisis. So I think the larger structural issues that have been raised are the things that we need to address. First, of course, is to address the question of our security challenges. And I think we've got to be honest about this. It's clear, and there have been all sorts of, conflicting, information about why it has been almost impossible to address this question. Recently, and this has been circulating in the last 2 weeks again after the threat from President Trump about, one female politician from the north who said they approached the president about, what needs to be done about the crisis in the north, and that she was told that nothing could be done because, this will constitute a danger, a personal danger, if something is done about the crisis in the north, which of course again points to some of the allegations in the past about the involvement at the highest level of people within and outside the military with the challenges that we're facing. So the question is, do we have the capacity to face these security challenges? What needs to be done? And how can we get the assistance from elsewhere, particularly the United States? I don't know how far this is true, but this is also something that has been circulating. This happened in the past, I think, under President Jonathan, and this has come up in recent times about when the United States was ready to support us, and then they found out that, elements within our, security and military establishment seem to be, colluding with the terrorists, Boko Haram terrorists. And these are grave allegations. There has never been a time that these issues have been addressed. Do we have problems, with even, not only within our security service, but even with seeking foreign assistance? So I think we need to we need to address this. And we have, the Nigeria has, I think you mentioned this earlier, the Nigerian military has intervened in different parts of the world and have gained accolades. Even the Nigerian police have intervened abroad and have done very well. So we have the capacity to be able to do something about it. But we need to address what the fundamental challenges are, to be able to address this question of, our security challenge. Of course, related to that is, again, the question we have raised earlier. We have the people who have the expertise, who have the knowledge, who have the experience to be able to advise the president, one, on the security challenges and in relation to our foreign policy challenges. What needs to be done is for the president today to call on these people to show a willingness to address this fundamental crisis by bringing people who have, the experience, who have the knowledge, and who have the commitment to help resolve some of these questions. He can raise a, panel of advisory council immediately about the security challenges and the foreign policy challenges, and we can begin to see a change within a few months if he's able to seek this kind of support from the people who have the capacity to address the current challenges.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Well, shortly, I'm going to open up this conversation because I see that we have quite a lot of persons with us, so that this will be a two-way process. Persons who want to ask questions, persons who would like to make observations, whatever issue we may have overlooked. But I want to go back very quickly to Professor Akinyemi. Prof, before you joined us, Professor Adebanwe was talking about the president having a council of advisors on international relations that will include your good self, Professor Ambassador Anyanku, formerly of the Commonwealth, and also Professor Gambari. I wanted to interject to say, actually, we used to have a body like that, a council of advisors of eminent retired diplomats. But what happened? Somebody came and became president of Nigeria, and they just disbanded that body. Because I recall under President Jonathan, that body used to come regularly to advise on foreign policy issues. Does that body still exist, sir?
No, it doesn't exist. You are quite right. We had it when President Jonathan was in office, and it was being led by Kifanya Oko at that time. We had Professor Shutokun as a member.
Yes. Ambassador Hamzat.
Yes. So, Ambassador Hamzat and then I think it was when President Buhari came into office that, I won't say he disbanded them. They couldn't have been appointed forever. But they stopped functioning. And since then, they have not been brought back. And I mean, another body has not been constituted. And maybe this is the time to do so, because in a way, you will be sending a signal to Trump that this is part of what you are trying to do in Nigeria to address the issue that you have. Because you see, you can constitute that body within 48 hours. Because you don't need to go through agreement, you don't need to go through Senate approval and this and that. Whereas with the ambassadors that you say you are going to appoint, first of all, you have to send their names to where you want to accredit them. Their own security people must go through those names and then give you, if they approve, agreement, or if they don't approve, tell you that they don't approve. But once they approve, then you send the names to your Senate, who then have to have their own debate before they then send the list back to the president. This is going to take time. Time is one thing we don't need. It's a pity that for over 1 year, this issue had not been dealt with. I mean, I happen to know, and no, don't let me talk about what I happen to know. On your program, Arise, this issue of appointment of ambassadors and non-appointment had come up several times. So people would have been listening into that program, and yet we were, no, in fact, what offends me is not being told the reason why we had not appointed those ambassadors. I'm not buying into this, it's lack of money. When the president canceled subsidies, the revenue available to the federal government went up, and the volume that then went to the states went up. Couldn't the Foreign Affairs Ministry be declared an important area that needs to be funded? I mean, people have, new planes have been bought, and there are several sections of our country where a lot of money had been pumped into. What I don't know is what the problem is between the presidency and foreign policy. So we don't have the time now. And so, again, you've come up now directly with a solution. I mean, at least with a solution that we can do. Set up that body. You don't need to be more than 8 or 9. And start sending them out as special, what do they call it? You send them out as to go to the United States, to go to Britain, where we have problems and where we need assistance. Please don't think that the verbal support from the EU and China and the African Union will metamorphose into troops on the ground to defend you if Trump decides to go that way. Just look at what is happening in Ukraine. A lot of verbal support. What good has that done Ukraine? So don't let us look that way, that we are looking, that we are embracing the verbal support we are getting. And we think that is going to do us much good.
Well, thank you very much, Prof. We've spent about 1 hour, 37 minutes, listening to our guests, our panelists. I think at this point, we should throw the conversation open. Already, I see some messages on the screen. Dosi Umobosi. Mr. Umobosi is the founder of Twingo Africa. He says the Nigerian government can strengthen and manage its relationship with the United States by establishing or engaging a powerful, well-structured lobby group in Washington, D.C. This group will serve as Nigeria's strategic advocate, promoting the country's political, economic, and security interests, while ensuring Nigeria's voice is heard in key U.S. policy-making circles. That's from Dosi Umobosi. Indeed, during the Jonathan administration, we used to have such groups, about 3 or 4 of them, who represented Nigeria in Washington diplomatic circles, and also, in the media, trying to help tell the Nigerian story. And then from Ajibade Adeyemi, this comment, the USA comment will be remarkably welcome because Nigeria has demonstrated weaker prowess in securing the people. The killings must stop. Well, I agree. Section 14 sub 2 says that the primary responsibility of government in the Nigerian constitution is to ensure the security and welfare of the people, whether they are Nigerians or non-Nigerians. Everybody who lives in this environment must feel safe. The killings must stop. So we throw the lines open now. Please indicate by raising your hand, and then the
Dr. Abati, can I
yes,
quickly
sir.
raise a question in response to Professor Akiemi? Why
Yes.
Why is it that the president cannot meet Professor Akiemi, Professor Gambari, and Chivanya Oku by early next week and send the 3 of them, including somebody like Ambassador Keshi, to Washington, D.C. by next week? As an immediate response, I'm wondering why that is impossible. I know I have it, I do know there are people who have directly mentioned some of these names to him, and they mentioned that he assured them that he will contact these people. Professor Akiemi has mentioned today that he has not been contacted. As an immediate response, as a show of seriousness about the current challenges, why is this not possible?
Well, this is part of the point we have been making about, competence, about being proactive, about acting quickly, and not seeing everything from the perspective that this may be opposition people who are trying to bring down the administration. But I hope that there will be a full summary of this conversation, which the leadership, the Dele Momodu Leadership Center will feed into the larger public square as part of the wisdom of the community.
Dr.
Now,
Abati,
we would like to take
Dr. Abati, Dr. Abati,
hello?
just a minute, please.
Okay, is that Chief Dele Momodu?
Yes, please.
Okay,
I
please go
just
ahead.
want to quickly respond to Professor Adebanwi that Baba Emeka Anyaoku is slightly indisposed in England at the moment, so he might not be available for such a trip. Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, I heard you.
Okay,
would you like to
so
respond to
yes,
some of the points that have been
the
raised so
suggestion
far?
is brilliant, but Baba, I spoke to him yesterday and he's indisposed, so he might not be able to join such a trip.
Okay. Can we have persons who have other observations? Please indicate by raising your hand. I see Kabisi Adedokun Abolarin here. The Alailua is here. Chief Tunji Alakmini is here. Adeola Oyerinde is with us. Temidayo Ogundipe, Adeola Bode Odeyemi, Aroga Chinasa. Please feel free to raise your hand and make your contributions. Earlier on, I saw Mr. Fulu Olamiti. We have quite a full house here. Akimbowale Aro, Yemisi Adedayo, Itwen Alfred, Dan Ingerim, Abiodun Konle. So we're all in this together. Andy Ugabe. So this is about our country and the future of our country. Okay, I see a hand up, Baraka's iPhone. Please, the engineers at the back end, if you could allow Mr. Baraka. Okay, Professor Adebanwi says he has to leave in 15 minutes to teach. He has a class. So let's do this.
Can you?
Yes, please go ahead. He's on the line.
Good afternoon,
Yes.
Dr. Baraka Sani. I'm the founder of Worldwide Initiative for Community Development and Global Healthcare. Hello, Mr. Ruben. You're also my boss. We worked together.
Thank you.
Yeah, the former SSA to the president.
Okay.
Agriculture. Yes. So my observation is that actually, you see, with the world happenings today, Nigeria cannot be complacent to sit down and just fold its arms without a permanent lobby group in world affairs. Aside from the ambassadors who are normally appointed based on political leaning, but we have, savory ambassadors like Professor Balaji Akinyemisa and Professor Anyaku and the likes. When they retire, they shouldn't be seen as tired. Diplomacy continues until we die. And world politics depends heavily on diplomacy. They should be formed into a think tank to be seeing the clear and present dangers approaching Nigeria and then be proactive. Because going to lobby the US now will cost us a lot of money. And with the sides already taken, the stake is very high. Let me give us an example. With the refinery we have put in Nigeria, Dangote refinery, we should know that challenges are going to attack and address them. We shouldn't wait until the implication of being self-sufficient in refined petroleum brings complications, and then we'll be running helter-skelter. Secondly, the issue of this terrorism and so on. You see, everybody will say we are not serious in Nigeria because once there's an allegation, there is no trial, there is no investigation. Even when the investigation is done, it's just swept under the carpet. We need to be a little bit more transparent. And then again, there are strategic countries of interest which should always be reviewed from time to time, depending on what are present dangers. Those we send in the right people. And not only the right people, we should also be able to penetrate those countries and hold on to groups that we think might be relevant in placing us at the wrong place at the right time. So we need to look at all these aspects. Then the national agency, today nobody is looking at what is in it for me. Nobody anymore looks at the implication for Nigeria. And without Nigeria, we might not even know where we are going to be. So many issues like this. Our patriotism should be our way.
Hello?
Like if you go to Dubai now, you see there are people actually, the country must be doing things to you, the ability of the country to give you, and so on and so forth. Dele, Momodu, we thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
For
Hello?
this very important platform.
Hello? Hello?
I hope the outcome would be accelerated. Yes?
Okay, thank you very much. From the voice, could that be Ajia Baraka Sani.
Yes, that's me,
Okay,
Baraka.
SSA Greek.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
How are you? Good,
I'm
to
good.
hear from you.
Happy
Thank you.
birthday and congratulations for such a beautiful outing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Well, okay, that's Ajia Baraka Sani there. We were in the Jonathan government together. She was the SSA in charge of agriculture at the time. Now, I see another comment here from Mr. Oluka Odemajekudumi. He says, I have a contrary opinion. I want to suggest Pastor Adefarasin and Michael Boulos, the in-law to the President of the United States, as special envoys for this particular mission to Trump. Well, we can have as many people as possible. Any other intervention? Please, kindly raise your hand if you have. Hello? 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 Who's on the line? Hello? Well, I have Adiola Bodiodeyemi here saying, very well said, Baraka. I have Adiola Oyenide saying, thank you, Baraka, for this. Okay, yeah. Mr. Adiola Oyenide would like to say something. Please go ahead. Hello? Adiola Oyenide has the floor, please. Your place, your location, and please keep it short. Hello? I see Mr. Olayinka Adedayo. I see Reni Adiagbo. We have quite a number of people online. Hello? Okay. Maybe by way of summary, I should begin to articulate some of the points that we have made. I think there was a view expressed that the solution can only come from within. There was an admission that we have been inept indeed in terms of deploying of the state, the foreign affairs process of Nigeria, and that, well, this notwithstanding, there's still a lot that we can do. We need help, and we should not hesitate to get help, either from regional neighboring partners or from the United States itself. The point was made that in diplomacy, there's nothing wrong in you giving something to get something. And that, look, what can we offer the United States? Because except we have a superior army than Trump, who obviously will prefer, will want positive acknowledgement of his contributions into this world. The point was made that we need post-haste to appoint representatives, envoys in the various strategic embassies that Nigeria has all over the world, and that the issue is not about funding. It's about political will, and that this has to be done immediately. Not job for the boys, but with emphasis on competence and professionalism, and that Nigeria has the human resources who can fill this gap. It was also suggested that there are highly placed, highly experienced persons that can engage with the American government. And quite a number of names were mentioned. Professor Gambari, Professor Bolaji Akinyi, Ambassador Anyaoku, Ambassador Joe Keshi, who was part of this conversation with us. And, some other person has recommended that, in fact, Pastor Adefarasin should be part of it. Mr. Michael Boulos should also be part of it. And then, of course, in terms of the analysis, we have had the view expressed that, look, it's not just Christians that are being persecuted, that Muslims also suffer, and that terrorists and bandits do not discriminate. Christians, Muslims, and enemies alike are involved in this crisis. But the more important thing is the need to reform the foreign policy process in a result-oriented manner, and for President Tinubu to act swiftly.
Okay.
I get the sense that with all the recommendations getting to the president, we're not moving fast enough. At the end of the day, the sovereignty of Nigeria is important. Our relations with the world is important. And even if Ambassador Keshi does not like the word strategic, he also admits that the relationship with the United States is important. I see Professor Bamitale Omole, Vice Chancellor of Obafemi Awolowo University, sending a note, and it says the current diplomatic doldrums with Nigeria has found itself is emblematic of the crass management of the Nigerian state. Unless there is a major in-house cleaning about the untamed and untamable corruption and leadership hiatus in the country, Nigeria will continue not to be respected and will continue to be treated as an inconsequential nation. After all, it is an axiom in foreign policy that your foreign outreach is a reflection of your domestic state. Professor Bamitale Omole, former Vice Chancellor of Bafemi Awolowo University. I think we'll put this question to Professor Wale Adebanwe earlier on. Also agreed that domestic policy drives foreign policy. And then there's also a comment here from Yemila Adejuwon. She says, good suggestions made. We have highly placed and experienced persons who can be envoys to a more diplomatic resolve and change of views. Those are some of the interventions. Well, we've done about 2 hours now. I think we should begin to close shop, on this occasion. But I hope you all agree with me that we have a very stimulating discussion. Professor Adebanwe says he has a class to teach and he has had to leave. Thank you very much, Professor Wale Adebanwe, for joining us. Thank you, Professor Bolaji Akinyemi. Thank you, Senator Comrade Shusani. And thank you very much, Ambassador Joe Keshi, also Dele Momodu, the founder, chairman of the Dele Momodu Leadership Center. We've been having this exercise with you via Zoom from the Dele Momodu Leadership Center in Ibadan. Back to you, Chief Dele Momodu.
Thank you, Dr. Ruben Abati. You are forever brilliant. And thank you for thanking all the participants on behalf of the Dele Momodu Leadership Center. I'm happy because this is a test run of what our activities would be. We are live simultaneously on YouTube, on Zoom, on Twitter, X now, on Facebook, and on Instagram. We are taking advantage of technology because if this caliber of personalities were to be assembled in a room in Abuja or something, we may get a budget of millions of naira. So what you have done today is to help Nigeria and to assist our government in knowing what to do. A lot of times people blame the advisors to the president for not advising him well. So now, free of charge, we have advised the government and in particular, the president and commander-in-chief. We hope to have more of these sessions in the coming weeks and months and years by the grace of God. For those who can still stay behind, we will show you a bit of our facilities at the Dele Momodu Leadership Center in Ibadan. We share border with the Forestry Reserve Institute of Nigeria frame, so which means we are in a very serene environment in Ibadan. It's called the Alalubosa GRA. It's a gated estate, and if you can show us some of the in-house scholars, we've invited a couple of young people. We have some coppers with us here. What we are trying to do is to go back to the good old days when academic work was very, very conducive. Today, it's difficult for an average lecturer or professor to go on sabbatical. In those days, I remember my brother, Professor Ajayi Inife, used to crisscross the world. In fact, the first time I ever traveled to England was when my brother was a teacher at the University of Surrey in Guildford in 1985. So we decided that we should be able to provide such a conducive environment here in Ibadan, where we can invite scholars from any part of the world. If you are doing your research, we provide here, we have 4 bedrooms at the moment, so we can provide accommodation. We can sign you in for up to a week to 1 month while you are having your research. Like during the COVID, if this place was ready, we could accommodate some scientists to come in here and see if we can develop our own vaccine. Some of the people who developed vaccines abroad, we read, were Nigerians. So how come our own scientists back home do not have such opportunities? It's just for us to give them an opportunity, and I'm very excited that today we have successfully launched a session on the topical issue as the face-off between America and Nigeria. And I hope the conversation continues. We will let you know whenever we feel we can also put something together, and you can also make suggestions to us. So if there is anyone watching and you are interested in the Dele Momodu Foundation-owned Leadership Center, please feel free to contact us. So can you zoom in to the resident scholars in-house? And then, Omokolade, please, let's get the cameras ready. So let's show you around. Where is the Zoom camera? We need the Zoom camera. Okay, today is there. Okay. So please, let's give a big round of applause to all the participants online. So we'll come so you can see what we're. Yeah. Quick. Where is today? Yeah. So this is the first building is residential. Let's close that door. Okay. So this is another private room. So when the scholars come, so they have their privacy, they can do all their research. We have some of my books there. Then we go to the next. Is it all closed? Who is opening your door? Can you get to YouTube? Private wing, for you to have access to this, you have to speak to me because these are very, very rare collections of magazines from Newswatch in the 80s. You can see the African Guardian, you can see the African Concord, you can see Dele. So some of these things are about 40 years or even longer. So we spent resources putting them together in a permanent form. So they are not things we can afford. You can see. The dream was to be a teacher, probably marry a teacher and live happily thereafter. But unfortunately, I couldn't get an appointment at that time. So that's what led me to Lagos. And then I became a journalist. So this is my secretary's office. So you can see books. We have books spanning about 50 years, about 5 decades. Where's Ben? Ben? Ben. What is it doing? So we need you. Ben. I don't know if Dr. Abati is still on and we are able to see us.
Yes, I'm here. I'm here. I can see you, sir.
You are there. Okay,
Yes,
fantastic.
Congratulations.
So I'll be taking you into the residential now, and then we can close the session. Oh, yeah, Yusuf. So this is my own wing. It's my wing. I have only one bedroom in the entire complex for myself. So this is my private wing, so that I can also join the scholars from time to time. Okay? So I have a balcony in here. You can show the environment. So very.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, let's go to change. You love this place. Is that one open? Yes. Huh? It's very. Can you open the other now? Oh yeah, please come in. Come in. Sir. So we have actually we have in every corner in this building, we have books. You know, knowledge is power, and that is what we are promoting here. Also, this is just my own private place for if I need to get some snacks or food. So this is my own private. So let's now go to the residential. This will interest our visiting scholars. This bridge to connect my wing to the residential. Come here. Yeah. So if we come here. So when a scholar comes here, this is where he will stay. So this is for one scholar. We encourage individuals and not couples so that they can concentrate on what they came to do. So this is another wing for another scholar. Please come in. And then we have so this has been provided by the Dele Momodu. Everywhere is ensuite. So pray for us. Government cannot do everything for us, so we must do things for ourselves. So, okay, let's get to the rooftop quickly. Rooftop. Open that up. So we have a rooftop so that maybe on weekends, when the scholars go to relax, they can come up there and do their drills. Suya, everything. Can play music, they can dance. So this is it. So this is the rooftop. So from here, you can see the forestry reserve from here. Where is today?
I'm here, sir.
Okay, so that's the forestry reserve. So I think at this point, let me say thank you so much and goodbye till we meet again. Thank you so much, Dr. Abachi. I don't know who's still in the house.
Thank you very much, everyone who has been part of this. I think that the big takeaway here is about vision, about impact, about the importance of knowledge. And we've all been part of this occasion today, having the opportunity to have an event at the Dele Momodu Leadership Center in Ibadan. And as I said, the most important thing here, as Chief Dele Momodu himself pointed out, is that government cannot do everything. It was Hubert Humphrey, former Vice President of the United States, who said, an individual can make a difference. Every individual can make a difference. And the moral of this experience today is that each one of us can make a difference in whatever situation we find ourselves, either through philanthropy or through contribution to knowledge and scholarship, as the example of Chief Dele Momodu has shown. Once again, I want to thank all of you. The big takeaway will be how you are inspired by the example of Chief Dele Momodu, providing opportunities for mentoring, for leadership, for younger persons to also follow in his footsteps and develop themselves as useful members of our community. I want to thank all of you, and I want to thank Chief Dele Momodu for giving me the opportunity to be the anchor at this event today, where so far we have looked at the issue of the way forward for Nigeria in the face of the threat from the United States led by President Donald Trump. Thank you all. God bless you, and have a safe trip to Israel's destination.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Daniel, you take care of that. Okay.
For those kids,